guys, hope you're all doing well. In this video I thought I'd share some really pretty summery color palettes you can use for your lettering or painting. I'll show how you can mix them yourself using watercolors, and I got inspired by this Palette Perfect book by Lauren Vega. It's beautiful. There are just like so many pretty color palettes in here, and you can use them as a reference to mix your own paint, or you can maybe pick your pens for lettering in similar colors and then combine them together when lettering your phrases. So I thought we can try some of these together. So let's give it a go. I hope you enjoy it. So the first thing I will actually do is pick a color palette. So I'll just find the one I like. I'll look for one that has 3 colors in it. So I quite like this. It's nice and summery. I think it'll be quite nice to mix. So let's go ahead and try to mix these colors, this lovely blue, pale pinkish beige and this orange, using watercolors. So you can use any watercolors you like. I'm using my Gogh palette. It's really lovely. It has a beautiful range of colors, and I'll be using my mixing palette. You can also just use a plate. Any ceramic surface will be fine. And I have my pot of fresh water, and I'll be using a Pentel water brush. It doesn't have to be a Pentel brush, but I highly recommend these. This one has a fine tip. You can also use any sort of water brush you have. And I'll be using this Daler and Rowney mixed media paper pad. I'll add a link to all of these products for you. So I'm going to start by mixing my first color, which is blue, and I have a lovely blue in my palette already, so I think I'm just going to make this color a bit darker. So I'm just rinsing my brush, picking up a bit of water, then I'm going to dilute it by adding water to this paint, mixing around a little bit, and then transferring some of this blue to my mixing palette. My brush is very fine, so you can see that it takes a while to transfer paint, and it actually needs a lot of paint, so a tiny bit will do. So I have a lovely blue, but I think the one I need is a bit darker. So if you want to darken your color, you can just add a splash of black. Be careful with black, it's a very strong color, so you only need a tiny bit. So you can see that it has darkened already, and I'm just going to add a tiny bit more, just so it looks a bit more earthy. There we go. I'm quite happy with that. Next, I need a lovely orange color, and we can get orange by mixing red and yellow. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rinse my brush thoroughly because it had blue on it. And then I'm going to pick up quite a lot of yellow. And again, transfer it to my mixing palette. You can also use any other brush to mix paints, and then use this brush to letter with. And then I'm going to add a bit of red, see what happens. Okay, so I am getting a lovely orange here. So the more red I add, the more orange is going to look. So I think I want a nice ratio between orange and red here. So I think I want more yellow than red, because at the moment it looks like a Halloween orange, but I want it to be a bit more summery. So keep mixing. You can also add a bit of white or a little bit of black to change your color. I think I'm just going to go for a tiny bit of white. So again, I'm rinsing my brush very thoroughly to get any paint off, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of white to this. A bit more yellow. So I think it starts to look like the one I need. Maybe a tiny bit more white. Adding white just makes your paint look more pastel-y, which is always pretty. Yes, I'm quite happy with that. And next I need to mix up this very sort of pale pinkish beige colour. I still want it to be visible, so I'm just going to go for pale pink. And I'm going to start by adding a tiny bit of red to my palette. And then rinsing my brush, picking up more water, dipping in white, and adding quite a lot of white. So we're mixing red and white to get a lovely pastel pink colour. So keep rinsing your brush in between so you don't get your white paint dirty. And if it happens, it's fine. You can just add more water and rinse it off. I think I'm running out of white and I need quite a lot here, so I'm just going to keep adding. There we go, we're sort of getting there slowly. Make sure your paints are lovely and watery. So I think that's quite pretty. I'm quite happy with these colours. I think it looks really summery. So I'm just going to letter something using these lovely colours. So because I have 3 colours here, I'm going to go for 3-word phrase. So I might do something like, hello, beautiful sunshine. Just some really lovely words to letter. I got my brush, I'm going to rinse it again and maybe clean it off slightly so it's not very watery because my paints are nicely diluted here. And I'm going to start with blue for the word hello. And then I'm doing brush lettering here, nice and slow, focusing on the pressure changes. I'm dipping my pen sort of after every other letter. I'm done with this word and I'm going to rinse my brush and again dry it off slightly. You can also use a bit of tissue to dry your brush here like this. I'm going to dip into this lovely pink. I'm starting the next word a bit more to the left because the word beautiful is quite long. So this colour is quite pale, but it looks pretty. I'm just making sure that I'm dipping quite frequently. And I have one more word, and again I'm rinsing my brush. I'm going to use this orange colour for the word sunshine. It's a bit more contrasting, so it looks lovely. And this just looks really, really pretty. It's starting to dry and I'm getting a lovely gradient here. So yeah, this is our first colour palette. Give this a go. So these are the colours we were going for and I'm quite happy with how it turned out, even though this pink is a bit darker. Next, I thought we could do something like this. So we have orange already, so the next thing we need to mix up is this lovely green blue colour, which is sort of turquoise but a bit darker. I do love the look of it, so let's give this a go. So I'm going to start by mixing a green colour. So to get green, we need to mix yellow, and blue together. So I'm just adding a little bit of yellow here and then a tiny bit of blue, and I'm getting this really bright green. So I'm going to start with this and then add other tones to make it that bluish color. So the more yellow I add, the more sort of limey it looks. So we need it to be fairly dark. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a tiny bit of black. Just a little bit. So it's darkened straight away. It looks very similar already. And I think I'm going to add a tiny bit of a darker blue. Got this lovely sort of purplish shade here. Yes, I think that's the color we are looking for. It looks very similar to that in this book. Now let's give this a go. So I'm going to letter Hello Summer. So I think that's going to look really pretty. I'm rinsing my brush, quickly drying it. It's still a bit dirty, so I'm just making sure it's clean. I'm going to start with this orange color, so I'm just dipping. One stroke at a time. Extending the last stroke of the word. It always looks really nice. And I'm going to do the word summer underneath, and it's a longer word, so I'm just going to make sure I start it a bit smaller. So I'm dipping in this lovely green blue color. Adding a bit of bounce for the letter M. Making a big loop for the letter R. And again extending the last stroke to the side. And this just looks really pretty. Lovely colours together. So here we go. We tried 2 different colour palettes. I've logged the link for you in case you want to purchase this book. Or you can always seek inspiration everywhere really. Nature, fashion, paintings, even flowers, probably in your garden. So give this a go. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time for the next video.